Hey you, tonight, you step back in time. The year is 1453 and Constantinople, your home, is a city of ash and ruin. The air chokes with thick smoke, the sky blazes red with fire, and the acrid stench of burning wood sears your lungs. Narrow streets, once alive with the hum of traders and the laughter of children, now echo with screams, the clatter of armor, and the crackle of flames devouring homes. You're a woman of this ancient city, your heart pounding as you clutch a tattered shawl, its threads fraying like your hope. The Ottoman forces, led by Mehmed II, have shattered the walls, their siege relentless, and your world crumbles beneath their might. Before you dive into this ancient world, please like the video and subscribe to Into the Sleep. If you truly enjoy journeys like this, tell us in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. For the best experience, dim your phone's screen, set it aside, close your eyes, and let your journey begin. Your feet stumble over broken cobblestones, the ground slick with soot and debris as you flee through an alley, the heat pressing close, unbearable. Shadows dance in the firelight, families running, their cries piercing the night, a mother clutching her child, her face streaked with tears, vanishing into the smoke. You duck behind a crumbling wall, its stones still warm from the day's sun, now scarred by the battle's rage. Your breath comes in sharp, ragged gasps, the shawl slipping as you press against the wall, its rough surface scraping your skin. Why did this happen? You seethe, your city's pride stripped away, its people scattered like leaves in a storm. The Byzantine Empire, your home, stood for centuries, yet now it falls, and you, a woman with dreams of a simple life, are caught in its death throes. A figure emerges through the haze, an old peddler, his face lined and grimy, his cart overturned nearby, spilling clay pots into the dirt. He spots you, his eyes wide with fear but holding a flicker of defiance. "Run, woman, they'll take you," he hisses, his voice hoarse, shoving a small loaf of bread into your hands, its crust hard but warm. You grip it, the gesture of fleeting kindness, but his words ignite a fire of rage within you. Why should you run? You think bitterly, when this is your home, your streets, your life. But the peddler's urgency shakes you, and you nod, slipping deeper into the alley, the bread pressed against your chest, a bitter reminder of what you've lost. The Janissaries, the Sultan's elite soldiers, are near, their boots a steady drumbeat, their curved swords glinting in the firelight, a promise of captivity. You dart through the shadows, your heart a furious beat, past a shattered market stall, its wooden beams splintered, baskets of figs and olives spilling across the ground. The scent of crushed fruit mixes with the smoke, a cruel mockery of the life you knew, where you once haggled for those figs, laughing with neighbors now gone. A woman's scream cuts through the night, sharp and desperate, from a nearby house, and you freeze, peering around a corner. Soldiers drag her out, her hair tangled, her cries ignored, her husband shouting, only to be silenced by a blade's swift arc. Your stomach twists, rage boiling, but you bite your tongue, the taste of ash and blood mingling in your mouth. Why do they take what isn't theirs? You curse silently, these men who claim glory while sowing despair. You turn to flee, but a shadow looms, tall and armored, a janissary, his helmet casting a dark silhouette, his eyes cold beneath the rim. There you are, he growls, his voice low, his hand gripping a sword stained with the night's toll. Your heart lurches, fury mixing with fear, and you clutch the bread tighter, as if it could shield you from this fate. I'm no prize for your empire, you spit, voice trembling with defiance. But he laughs, a harsh sound that grates against the crackling flames. He seizes your arm, his grip bruising, dragging you from the alley, your feet stumbling over debris. You twist, trying to pull free, your shawl tearing, but his strength overpowers you, a bitter reminder of your helplessness. The city burns brighter now, the Grand Hagia, Sophia's dome glowing in the distance, a beacon of a world slipping away. You're shoved into a tide of captives, their faces pale, eyes hollow, a young girl beside you trembling, her hands clasped tight. The Janissaries march you forward, past a church, its doors splintered, its icons shattered, a priest's lifeless form slumped against the steps. You glare at the soldier, your captor, his face unreadable, and whisper, "You'll pay for this," though the words feel empty, swallowed by the night's chaos. He points to a line of carts, their wooden frames groaning, and you're forced toward one, the air thick with sweat and fear. The scent of burning timber, a constant sting. You're pushed onto the cart, its rough planks biting into your skin, and a guard ties a coarse rope around your wrists, the knots tight, chafing your flesh. You sit among strangers, their quiet sobs a haunting chorus, the girl beside you clinging to her mother, her whispers drowned by the clamor. The bread slips from your hands, rolling into the dirt below, and you curse under your breath, rage flaring anew. Why should you lose everything? You think, your home, your freedom. Even this small kindness, the peddler's warning echoes, they'll take you, and now you understand. A bitter truth sinking in. The Janissaries shout orders, their voices harsh, and the cart lurches forward, wheels creaking, pulling you away from the city's dying glow. The road stretches dark, the fires of Constantinople fading, their orange light a cruel memory. You grip the edge of the cart, the rope burning your wrists, and stare at the horizon, where Topkapi Palace waits, a place whispered in dread, where women like you are taken, stripped of will, forced into a life of servitude. You seethe, your heart a furnace of anger, at the Sultan who commands this, at the soldiers who enforce it, at the world that lets it happen. The girl beside you whimpers, and you glance at her, her eyes wide, and feel a pang, a shared pain. "We'll endure," you mutter, voice low, a promise to yourself as much as her. Though the words taste of ash, the cart rocks on, the night swallowing your city's last cries, and your journey, a path of rage and captivity, begins. The cart jolts over the uneven road, its wooden frame creaking with every rut, each bump a fresh jab at your already bruised body. The coarse rope around your wrists digs deeper, the fibers biting into your skin, leaving raw, red marks that sting with every sway. The air is damp, heavy with the scent of earth and salt from the nearby Bosphorus, but it's tainted by the lingering smoke of Constantinople's fall, a bitter reminder of the life you've been torn from. You sit wedged between other captives, their bodies pressed close, the heat of their fear mingling with your own. The girl beside you, her face pale, her eyes red from crying, clings to her mother, their hands clasped tight, a fragile thread of comfort in this nightmare. You glare at the janissaries riding alongside, their armor glinting in the torchlight, their faces hard, unyielding, and feel a surge of rage, a burning hatred for these men who've stolen your freedom. The night stretches on, the sky above a deep, starless void, the only light coming from the flickering torches the soldiers carry, casting jagged shadows across the dirt path. The wheels groan, a relentless rhythm that grates on your nerves, each turn pulling you further from the city you loved, the life you knew. You think of your home, a modest stone house near the market, its walls painted with simple vines, the scent of your mother's bread baking in the clay oven, the laughter of neighbors sharing stories over cups of wine. Now it's gone, likely reduced to ash, and you're here, bound like livestock, headed to a fate you can't even name. Why should you suffer this? You seethe, your hands clenching despite the rope's bite. When you've done nothing to deserve it, the Empire's greed, its hunger for power, has swallowed you whole, and the bitterness festers, a poison in your chest. A man across from you, his beard streaked with gray, his tunic torn at the shoulder, shifts, his chains clinking softly. He catches your eye, his gaze hollow, and mutters, "I was free once, too." His voice is low, cracked, barely audible over the cart's creak, but the words hit you like a stone. You lean closer, the rope pulling tight, and he continues, his tone bitter, laced with a fury that mirrors your own. "They took my wife years ago, after a raid on our village, forced her into the harem, made her a concubine for their sultan. She fought, at first, but they break you, in time." He pauses, his eyes distant, staring into the dark as if seeing her face. "I heard she bore a child, then vanished, likely killed when she was no longer useful." His voice cracks on the last word, and you feel a chill, your anger deepening into something colder, more dangerous. You swallow hard, the taste of ash still on your tongue, and whisper, "Why do they do this?" Your voice trembles, not with fear, but with rage, a fury at the injustice of it all. He shakes his head, a bitter laugh escaping his lips. "Power," he says simply, his eyes meeting yours, dark and unyielding. "They take what they want, build their empire on our bones, our blood, and we're nothing to them. Just tools, just things." His words sink into you, each one a spark to the fire in your chest. You think of the janissary who dragged you from the alley, his cold laugh, the way he looked at you like you were less than human. You hate them, all of them. The Sultan who commands this, the soldiers who obey, the system that crushes lives like yours without a second thought. The cart slows, the wheels grinding to a stop, and dust swirls around you, catching in your throat. You hear the bustle of a roadside camp, the clatter of pots, the low hum of voices, soldiers barking orders in a tongue you barely understand. The scent of roasting meat drifts over, lamb and onions, a cruel taunt to your empty stomach. The peddler's bread long lost in the dirt of Constantinople. A guard approaches, his boots heavy on the ground, and tosses a clay jug of water into the cart, the liquid sloshing over the rim. "Drink," he grunts, his voice devoid of care, and you reach for it, your hands shaking, the rope making every movement a struggle. The water is tepid, gritty with sediment, but you gulp it down, the dryness in your throat easing slightly. You pass it to the girl beside you, her hands trembling as she drinks, and her mother murmurs a quiet thanks. her voice a thread of gratitude in this hell. The camp stirs with life, and through the cart's slats, you glimpse a makeshift market, tents flapping in the breeze, merchants selling their wares even at this hour. Stalls are laden with figs, dates, and bolts of silk, their colors vivid in the torchlight, reds and golds that mock the gray despair in your heart. A woman haggles, her voice sharp, her hands gesturing over a basket of pomegranates, and you watch, a bitter pang rising. Why do they go on, you think, trading and laughing, while you're bound, your life stolen? The contrast is a knife in your gut, a reminder of the freedom you've lost, the normalcy you'll never reclaim. You clench your fists, the rope cutting deeper, and curse the world that lets this happen, that lets empires rise on the backs of the broken. A guard rides close, his horse snorting, its breath a white puff in the chill air. He leans down, his face half hidden by his helmet, and his gaze lingers on you, cold and appraising. "You'll fetch a good place," he says, his voice low, a smirk tugging at his lips. The Sultan likes them fiery. Your blood boils, rage surging so fiercely you nearly lunge at him, the rope snapping taut as you strain forward. "I'm no one's prize," you hiss, voice low but venomous. And he laughs, a cruel sound that echoes in the night. He spurs his horse, moving on, but his words linger, a dark promise of what awaits. And you feel a wave of nausea, your anger mixing with dread. You're destined for the harem, to be a concubine, a role forced upon you, a life of servitude to a man you'll never love, a tyrant who destroys lives without care. The cart lurches forward again, the wheels groaning, pulling you back into the rhythm of the journey. The camp fades behind, its lights shrinking, the scent of food replaced by the damp earth and the faint tang of salt. You lean against the cart's edge, the wood rough against your back, and stare into the darkness, the horizon barely visible, a faint outline of hills against the sky. The man's story echoes in your mind, his wife's fate a shadow over your own, and you wonder if you'll break, too, if the harem will strip you of your fire, your will. You shake your head, teeth gritted, refusing to let that thought take root. You'll fight, you vow silently, even if it's just in your heart, even if it's just in the quiet moments of defiance no one sees. The road stretches on, endless, and the cart rocks, a relentless motion that mirrors the turmoil in your chest. You glance at the girl, her head resting on her mother's shoulder, her eyes closed, and feel a flicker of resolve. You'll endure, for her, for the man who lost his wife, for all the others this empire has crushed. The Janissaries' torches flicker, their light a harsh reminder of your captivity, and you hear fragments of their talk, words of the Sultan, of conquest, of a new order rising. You scoff, the sound bitter, and mutter, "Your order is built on our pain." The words are lost in the night, but they steady you, a quiet rebellion in your heart. Ahead, the horizon shifts, a silhouette rising, vast and imposing, Topkapi Palace, its walls a dark promise in the distance. Your stomach twists, dread creeping in despite your anger, the reality of your fate looming closer. You're to be a concubine, a role you never chose, a life of serving a man who sees you as nothing more than a trophy, a tool for his pleasure, his power. You hate him already, this Mehmed too, this conqueror who's taken everything from you, and you hate the harem that awaits, a gilded cage where women like you are broken, used, discarded. The cart rolls on, the palace growing larger, its shadow stretching toward you, and your heart burns. Rage and fear, a tangled fire, as you brace for what's to come. The cart lurches to a halt, its wheels grinding against the stony ground, and the sudden stillness jars your aching body. The rope around your wrists, now crusted with dirt and blood from the long journey, tightens as you shift, a constant reminder of your captivity. The air grows heavier, thick with the scent of damp stone and the faint musk of horses, as the night deepens around you. Through the cart's slats, you see the towering silhouette of Topkapi Palace, its marble walls rising like a fortress of oppression, its windows dark, uninviting, a prison disguised as grandeur. The janissaries dismount, their boots thudding against the earth, their voices sharp with command, and you feel a surge of rage, your chest tightening with the unfairness of it all. They've dragged you from your burning city, stripped you of your life, and now they bring you here to serve a tyrant's whims as a concubine, a fate you despise with every fiber of your being. A guard yanks the cart's gate open, the wood creaking, and barks an order in a harsh Ottoman tongue you barely grasp. You're pulled to your feet, your legs trembling from hours of confinement, the rope cutting deeper as you stumble forward. The other captives move with you, a weary procession of despair, their faces etched with the same anger and fear you feel. The girl beside you, her mother's arm around her, whimpers softly, her small frame shaking, and you grit your teeth, hating the soldiers for her pain, for your pain, for the countless others they've torn from their homes. The palace gates loom ahead, massive and carved with intricate patterns of vines and crescents. But to you, they're nothing but the jaws of a trap, closing around your freedom. You're herded through the gates, the cool air of the inner courtyard hitting you like a slap, a stark contrast to the smoky chaos you've left behind. The ground beneath your feet is smooth marble, polished to a sheen that reflects the torchlight. But it feels cold, unwelcoming, a symbol of the wealth built on your suffering. Servants scurry past, their robes drab, their eyes downcast, and one, a woman with hollow cheeks and a scarf draped loosely over her hair, approaches you. Her gaze meets yours briefly, a flicker of shared misery passing between you before she looks away, her voice low and strained. "Follow me," she mutters, her tone devoid of warmth, and you're forced to obey. Your rage simmering as you're led deeper into this marble cage. The courtyard stretches wide, its fountains gurgling with a mocking serenity, their water sparkling under the torchlight, a cruel contrast to the dryness in your throat. Arched walkways line the space, their walls adorned with tiles of deep blue and gold, intricate designs that speak of opulence you'll never share. You pass a group of guards, their armor clanking, their laughter coarse as they eye the captives, and you feel a flush of humiliation, your anger flaring at their leering gazes. Why should they revel? You think bitterly, while you're stripped of dignity, forced into a life of servitude. The servant leads you toward a side entrance, its wooden door weathered but carved with elegance. And you step inside, the air shifting to a damp chill that seeps into your bones. The interior unfolds, a labyrinth of corridors, their walls smooth and cold, the marble echoing with every step. Lamps hang from chains, their flames casting long, dancing shadows that seem to mock your plight. The servant moves ahead, her pace brisk, and you follow, your wrists aching, the rope a constant weight. You pass a chamber where voices murmur, low and tense, and catch a glimpse of women seated, their robes finer than yours, their faces painted with the beauty you resent. They're concubines. You realize their lives shaped by the Sultan's desire, and your stomach churns with disgust. You'll be one of them. You think, your fury rising. A woman reduced to a tool for a man you hate. A prisoner in this gilded hell. She stops at a narrow room, its walls bare save for a single woven mat on the floor, a basin of water in the corner, its surface rippling faintly. "Clean yourself," she says, her voice flat, handing you a rough cloth and a small jar of something that smells faintly of lavender, a hollow gesture of care. You snatch them, your hands trembling with anger, and glare at her. "Why should I predify myself for them?" you snap, your voice low but fierce. And she flinches, her eyes darting to the door. "It's not for you to decide," she whispers, her tone laced with a bitterness that mirrors your own, and you see the resignation in her face, the years of submission etched into her skin. You hate her for it, for giving in, but you also pity her, a woman broken by the same system that now targets you. You dip the cloth into the water, its chill biting your hands, and scrub at your face, the grime of the journey smearing before washing away. The lavender scent is faint, a mockery of comfort, and you rub harder, as if you could erase the day's humiliation. Your reflection in the basin surface is distorted, your eyes dark with rage, your hair tangled, and you pause, staring at the stranger you've become. They'll dress you up, you think, paint you like a doll, and offer you to the Sultan, a man who conquered your city, who now claims your body. The thought fuels your fury, a fire that burns hotter with each passing moment, and you slam the cloth down, water splashing, your breath heavy with defiance. The servant returns, her face impassive, and hands you a robe, its fabric a pale blue, smoother than anything you've worn, but to you, it's a shroud, a symbol of your enslavement. You pull it on, the material clinging to your damp skin, and feel a wave of revulsion, your hands clenching into fists beneath the sleeves. "This isn't mine," you mutter, your voice thick with anger, and she nods, a silent acknowledgement of your plight. She leads you out, back into the corridor, the marble cold beneath your bare feet, and you're taken to a larger hall, its ceiling high, its arches curving like the ribs of some monstrous beast. Lamps flicker, their light casting shadows that seem to move, to watch, and you feel the weight of this place, its oppressive grandeur pressing down on you. Women gather here, their robes varied, some rich with embroidery, others plain, their faces a mix of resignation and calculation. They glance at you, their eyes assessing, and you meet their stares with a glare, your rage a shield against their scrutiny. A taller woman, her robe a deep green, steps forward, her lips curling into a sneer. "Another toy for the Sultan," she says, her voice dripping with disdain, and you feel a flush of hatred, your fists tightening. Why should she judge you, you think, when she's trapped here too, a pawn like you? The servant nudges you forward, and you're pushed into a line, the green-robed woman lingering, her gaze a constant prick at your pride. The hall hums with tension, the air thick with unspoken rivalries, and you stand, your robe feeling like a chain, your wrists still bound by the rope's memory. A guard enters, his armor clanking, and announces in a gruff voice that you'll be prepared, assessed, chosen for the Harem's ranks. You want to scream, to fight, but the rope's absence leaves you powerless, your anger trapped inside. The servant leads you to a bench, its wood worn, and you sit, the cold seeping through, your mind racing with plans of escape, of defiance. Though the walls seem to close in, the palace a relentless foe. You curse the Sultan under your breath, his name a bitter taste, and vow to hold on to your fire, even in this marble prison, even as they try to break you. The hall's oppressive silence presses against you as you sit on the worn wooden bench, the cold seeping through the pale blue robe that clings uncomfortably to your skin. The air is thick with the scent of damp stone and the faint tang of oil from the flickering lamps overhead, their light casting jagged shadows across the marble walls. The green-robed woman lingers nearby, her sneer still etched in your memory, her presence a constant thorn in your side, fueling the rage that simmers beneath your chest. The servant who guided you here stands at the door, her hollow eyes fixed on the floor, her silence a stark reminder of the broken spirit you refuse to let them forge from you. Your wrists, raw from the rope that's now gone, ache with every movement, a physical echo of the captivity you've been thrust into, and you clench your fists, nails digging into your palms, as you fight the urge to lash out at this gilded cage. A sharp clap breaks the stillness, and the matron strides in, her robe a stern gray, her face lined with authority and indifference. Her eyes scan the line of women, lingering on you with a cold appraisal that makes your skin crawl. Work begins now, she declares, her voice cutting through the air like a blade, and she gestures to a long table cluttered with needles, thread, and bolts of silk in shades of crimson and gold. You're shoved forward, your feet slipping on the smooth floor, and handed a needle, its tip glinting menacingly in the lamplight, and a square of cream-colored silk that feels like a mockery of your stolen freedom. Stitch a border, neat and precise, she orders, her tone leaving no room for defiance. And you take it, your hands trembling with a mix of fury and exhaustion, the task a bitter insult to your spirit. You sit at the table, the wood hard beneath you, and thread the needle, the motion awkward, your fingers stiff from the journey's ordeal. The silk is cool against your skin, a luxury you despise, and you begin to stitch, the thread pulling tight with each jab, a rhythm that mirrors the anger pulsing in your veins. Why should you labor for them, you think, your jaw tightening, when they've ripped you from your home, forced you into this harem to serve a sultan you loathe? The matron paces, her steps a relentless echo, her gaze a weight that presses down, and you feel the eyes of the other women, their resentment and rivalry a palpable force. You stab the needle harder, the fabric bunching slightly, and curse under your breath, the sound lost in the soft rustle of silk and the clink of tools. A girl slides onto the bench beside you, her dark curls falling over her face, her hands deft as she works her own piece. She glances at you, her eyes wary but warm, and leans closer, her voice a whisper barely audible over the matron's pacing. "I'm Layla," she murmurs, her breath warm against your ear. "They watch us always, but there are ways out hidden paths, old and forgotten." Her words spark a flicker of hope, a flame you cling to amidst the rage, and you turn to her, your needle pausing. Where you ask, your voice low, urgent, and she nods toward a shadowed arch at the far end of the room, its stone worn, its edges draped with a tattered cloth. You glance at it, your heart racing. The promise of escape a bitter tease in this prison, and feel a surge of determination to find it, to defy this fate. The matron's shadow falls over you, her presence a cold intrusion, and you lower your gaze, stitching faster to avoid her scrutiny. Precision matters, she snaps, her voice sharp, and you grit your teeth, the needle slipping, pricking your finger. A bead of blood wells up, dark against the silk, and you wipe it away, your anger flaring at her indifference, at the system that demands your skill while crushing your will. Layla nudges you, her stitches small and perfect, and whispers, "Don't let them see your fight." Her words are a lifeline, a quiet ally in this sea of hostility. And you nod, your resolve hardening, though the matron's watchful eye keeps you in check. The room hums with tension, the clatter of needles and the rustle of fabric a constant undercurrent. And you notice the green-robed woman across the table, her movements deliberate, her gaze fixed on you. She stitches with a grace that mocks your struggle, her lips curling into a smirk, and you feel a flush of hatred. Why does she judge you? You think bitterly, when she's trapped here too. A concubine like you'll soon be, forced to please a man who cares nothing for your soul. You stab the needle again, the thread snapping, and mutter a curse, the sound drawing a glance from the matron. You lower your head, feigning focus, but inside, your rage burns, a fire stoked by every glance, every command. In hours drag on, the lamps burning low, their light dimming, and the matron calls a break. You set your needle down, your fingers cramped, and rise, following the others to a small courtyard, its air cooler, the sky above a deep velvet pierced by faint stars. A fountain trickles, its sound a mocking lullaby, and you stand near it, the water's edge reflecting your tired face, your eyes dark with fury. Servants bring trays, flatbreads dotted with sesame, bowls of olives, and cups of diluted wine. And you take a piece, the bread dry in your mouth, a tasteless burden. Layla joins you, her eyes bright despite the weariness, and offers an olive, her hand brushing yours. "We can't give up," she whispers, and you nod. The gesture a pact, though your heart aches with the weight of this life. The matron claps again, her signal sharp, and you return to the hall, the air warmer now, the tension thicker. You sit, picking up your silk, and notice Layla's work, her stitches a testament to her resilience, and feel a flicker of admiration. She leans close, her voice a breath. The arch leads to a passage, but it's guarded. We need a plan. Your pulse quickens. The idea of escape fueling your anger, your desire to strike back at the Sultan, at this harem that seeks to break you. The green-robed woman watches, her sneer returning, and you meet her gaze, your eyes blazing with defiance. Why should you bow, you think, when every stitch, every moment here is a theft of your soul? You stitch on, the needle steady now, the border taking shape, a line of blue against the cream, but your mind races with Layla's words, with the arch's promise. The matron approaches, her nod a rare approval, and moves on, but you barely register it. Your focus on the shadowed path ahead. The hall quiets, the women's breathing uneven, the lamps casting golden pools, and you think of Constantinople, its fall a wound that festers, driving your resolve. The servant who guided you passes, her eyes meeting yours briefly, a silent acknowledgement of your shared plight. And you feel a pang, a connection born of rage and despair. The palace breathes, its walls a constant pressure, and you vow to find that passage, to fight this fate, your anger a beacon in the dark. The hall's oppressive quiet lingers as you sit at the table, the cream-colored silk beneath your fingers now marked with a jagged blue border, each stitch a reluctant tribute to your captivity. The air grows heavier, thick with the scent of burning oil from the low lamps and the faint musk of sweat from the women around you. They are breathing a tense rhythm that grates on your nerves. The matron's sharp footsteps fade into the distance, her approval a hollow victory. But the green-robed woman's sneer still burns in your mind, her presence a constant jab at your pride. Layla's whispered promise of a hidden passage echoes, a faint spark in the darkness of your rage. And you glance at the shadowed arch again, its worn stone taunting you with the hope of escape. Your wrists, though free of rope, throb with the memory of your journey, and you clench your fists, nails digging into your palms, as the weight of your forced role as a concubine presses down, igniting a fury that threatens to consume you. A sudden drumbeat reverberates through the palace, low and ominous, its pulse shaking the marble floor beneath your feet. The sound sends a chill through you, a herald of something inescapable, and the women around you stiffen, their hands pausing mid-stitch. The matron reappears, her gray robe sweeping the ground, her face set in a grim line. Rise, she commands, her voice cutting through the tension, and you stand, your legs unsteady from hours of sitting, the silk slipping to the table. The other women follow, their movements reluctant, and you're herded toward a grand chamber, its arched doorway framed with gold-inlaid wood, a mockery of the wealth built on your suffering. You grit your teeth, your anger flaring at the sight, at the injustice of being dragged into this tyrant's domain, and follow, your heart pounding with a mix of dread and defiance. The chamber unfolds before you, vast and intimidating, its walls lined with tiles of deep blue and crimson, their patterns swirling like the chaos of your thoughts. Lamps hang from the ceiling, their flames casting a warm glow that contrasts with the cold dread in your chest. And cushions of red and green are scattered across the floor, a lavish stage for the Sultan's whims. Guards stand at attention, their armor clanking softly, their eyes cold and unfeeling. And you feel a surge of hatred, your fists clenching as you imagine striking back at them. The drumbeat grows louder, a relentless rhythm that seems to echo your rage. And then he enters Mehmed II, the conqueror, the man who raised your city and now claims your life. His presence fills the room, tall and imposing, his dark beard framing a face carved with authority, his eyes piercing, unreadable, a gaze that strips you bare. You're pushed into a line with the other women, your robe clinging to your damp skin, and the matron adjusts your stance, her hands rough, pulling your shoulders back with a force that makes you wince. Chins up, eyes down, she hisses, her breath hot against your ear, and you comply, your head tilting upward, your gaze fixed on the floor, the marble cold beneath your bare feet. The Sultan moves closer, his steps measured, his silken robes rustling, and you feel his eyes on you, a weight that ignites your fury. Why should you bow to this man? You think bitterly, this conqueror who stole your home, who now seeks to own your body. Your chest tightens, your anger a fire that threatens to break free. But you hold it in, your teeth gritted, your hands trembling at your sides. He pauses before another woman, his voice low as he asks her name, and she stammers a reply, her voice quivering with fear. You steal a glance, your rage simmering, and see her pale face, her hands clasped tight, a mirror of your own dread. Then he steps to you, his shadow falling over you, and you feel the full force of his gaze, a cold appraisal that makes your skin crawl. Look up, he commands, his tone calm but laced with an authority that brooks no refusal. And you lift your eyes, meeting his, dark and deep, a ruler's power staring into your soul. Your heart races, fury mixing with a bitter helplessness, and you want to spit in his face, to scream your defiance. But the guard's presence, their swords glinting, holds you back. What skill do you bring? He asks, his voice even, a question that feels like a mockery, and you swallow, your throat dry, your anger choking your words. I stitch, you manage, your voice low, laced with venom, thinking of the silk, the labor forced upon you, the peddler's bread, a distant memory of kindness now tainted by this fate. He nods, a flicker of something approval, perhaps crossing his face, and says, "You'll serve in my harem." The words hit you like a blow, a sentence to a life you never chose. And your stomach churns, your rage exploding inward. You'll be a concubine. You realize, a woman stripped of will, forced to please this man who destroyed your city. And the injustice of it fuels a fire that burns hotter than ever. The matron nods, her face unreadable, and the Sultan moves on, his steps echoing, the drumbeat fading into a distant thrum. You lower your eyes, your chest tight, the other women whispering, their voices a mix of relief and tension, and you feel a flush of resentment. Why you think, when others tremble too, when this fate is a shared curse. Layla glances at you, her eyes wide with worry, and murmurs, "He chose you?" Her voice a quiet warning, and you nod, your mind racing with the implications. The green-robed woman watches from the side, her smirk returning, and you meet her gaze, your eyes blazing with defiance, your hatred for her rivalry adding to the storm within. You're led out, the chamber's warmth replaced by the cool corridor, the tiles smooth under your feet, and the matron's grip on your arm is firm, guiding you to a smaller room. The air shifts, damp and heavy, and you're pushed inside, the door closing with a thud that echoes your trapped spirit. The room is sparse, a mat on the floor, a jug of water, and a mirror reflecting your furious face, your eyes dark with rage. The matron hands you a new robe, deeper blue, its fabric smooth but suffocating, and orders, "Prepare for your role." You take it, your hands shaking, and throw it onto the mat, your voice rising. "I won't be his plaything," you snarl, and she steps closer, her eyes narrowing. "You have no choice," she says, her tone cold, and you feel a wave of helplessness, your anger crashing against the walls of this reality. She leaves, the door locking behind her, and you slump onto the mat, the robe a weight beside you, your mind a tumult of plans and curses. You think of the arch, Layla's words, the passage to freedom, and vow to find it, to escape this tyrant's will. The palace breathes around you, its walls a constant pressure, and you hear distant footsteps, a guard's patrol, a reminder of your captivity. Your rage burns, a silent rebellion, and you whisper to yourself, "I'll fight this, somehow." Your voice a promise in the dark, as the night deepens around Topkapi's marble prison. The locked door of the small room looms in your mind, its heavy thud a constant echo of your imprisonment. As you sit on the thin mat, the deep blue robe crumpled beside you like a chain you refuse to wear. The air is stale, the dampness of the stone walls seeping into your bones, mingling with the faint scent of lavender from the earlier washing, a cruel mockery of comfort in this hell. Your hands tremble, not from fear, but from the fury that courses through you, a fire stoked by the Sultan's cold decree, his unfeeling gaze, and the matron's harsh grip. You're to be a concubine, a role forced upon you, a life of servitude to Mehmed Seta, the man who burned your city to ash. And the thought of it makes your stomach churn, your nails digging into your palms until they draw blood. The distant hum of the palace, its fountains and footsteps, feels like a taunt, a reminder of the life beyond these walls you'll never touch, and you mutter a curse, the words bitter on your tongue. A sharp rap at the door jolts you, and it swings open. The matron standing there, her gray robe a stark contrast to the flickering lamp in her hand. "To the bazaar," she says, her voice clipped, her eyes avoiding yours, as if your anger is a plague she'd rather not catch. You rise, your legs stiff, and glare at her, your defiance a shield against her indifference. "Why should I go anywhere for you?" You snap, voice low but venomous, and she sighs, a sound of weary authority. "You'll fetch supplies for the harem, spices, thread, whatever's needed. Do as you're told." Her words are a lash, a reminder of your powerlessness, and you snatch the robe, pulling it over your shoulders with a force that nearly tears the fabric, your rage a storm barely contained. She leads you through the corridors, the marble cold beneath your bare feet, the tiles of blue and gold glinting in the lamplight, their beauty a hollow thing you despise. Guards line the halls, their armor a constant threat, their eyes following you with a cold curiosity that makes your skin crawl. You pass a courtyard, its fountains trickling, the scent of jasmine faint in the air, and you feel a pang, a bitter longing for the freedom of the open air, a freedom you're denied. The matron pauses at a side gate, its wood carved with crescents, and a guard steps forward, his sword at his side, his nod a silent command to follow. You step through, the air shifting, warmer now, and the palace opens to the outside, the bazaar's clamor hitting you like a wave, a chaotic pulse of life that mocks your captivity. The market stretches before you, a riot of color and sound, stalls packed with saffron, cinnamon, and cloves, their sharp scents mingling with the warm aroma of fresh bread and roasting meat. Merchants shout, their voices bold, haggling over bolts of silk, red and gold, their hands quick and sure, while women balance baskets on their heads, children darting through the crowd, their laughter a bright thread in the chaos. You stare, your heart aching with a bitter resentment, the vibrancy of this place a cruel contrast to the gray despair of your new life. Why do they laugh, you think, your fists clenching beneath the robe's sleeves, when you're a prisoner, forced to serve a man you hate, your freedom stolen by his empire? The guard nudges you forward, his presence a shadow at your back, and you move through the crowd, the matron's list of needs a weight in your hand. You approach a spice stall, its wooden table piled high with small burlap sacks, their contents spilling out, turmeric staining the wood a vivid yellow. The merchant, A man with a gray beard and a tunic stained with dye looks up, his eyes crinkling with a smile that doesn't reach you. "What do you need, lady?" he asks, his tone warm. But to you, it's a mockery, a kindness you can't accept in this moment of rage. You mutter the matron's requests: saffron, cloves, pepper your voice tight. And he gathers them, his hands quick, wrapping the spices in cloth. He pauses, glancing at the guard, then at you. And his smile fades, a flicker of pity crossing his face. "It's a hard life, in the palace," he says softly, his voice low, and you freeze, your anger flaring at his words. "Don't pity me," you hiss, your voice sharp, and he flinches, his hands stilling. "I don't need your sympathy, I need my freedom." The words spill out, a bitter truth, and he nods, his eyes darkening with understanding, but he says nothing, handing you the bundle with a quiet respect that only deepens your resentment. You take it, the cloth rough against your fingers, and turn away. The guard's gaze heavy on your back, the market's noise a relentless assault on your senses. You move to another stall, this one selling thread, its spools lined up in rows, their colors bright blue, red. Gold, a reminder of the stitching you're forced to do, a task that binds you to this harem you loathe. As you reach for a spool, a voice cuts through the crowd, low and venomous. "Look at the new favorite, already running errands." You turn, your heart sinking, and see the green-robed woman, her arms crossed, her smirk a blade aimed at your pride. She's here, somehow, her presence a bitter twist, and you feel a surge of hatred, your hands tightening around the bundle of spices. "I'm no one's favorite," you snap, your voice trembling with fury, "and I'm certainly not yours to mock." She laughs, a sharp sound that draws glances, and steps closer, her eyes glinting with malice. "You'll learn your place soon enough," she says, her tone dripping with disdain, and you want to lunge at her, to wipe that smirk from her face. But the guard's hand on your shoulder stops you, his grip a warning. You pull away, your chest heaving, and finish your task, gathering the thread. The matron's list, a chain you can't break. The market buzzes around you, its life a cruel reminder of what you've lost, and you move through it, your anger a constant pulse, the green-robed woman's words echoing in your mind. You pass a baker, his tray of flatbread steaming, the scent a faint echo of the peddler's kindness. But it only deepens your bitterness, the memory tainted by your current state. A child runs past, his laughter grating, and you think of the girl from the cart, her fear, her mother's quiet strength, and wonder where they are now, if they too are bound for this hell. The guard urges you back toward the gate, his pace brisk, and you follow, the bundles heavy in your arms, your heart heavier still. The bazaar's energy fades as you step through, the palace's cold walls closing in, the scent of spices clinging to you like a cruel jest. The matron waits, her arms crossed, and takes the supplies, her nod brief, her eyes unreadable. You're led back to the hall, the marble echoing your steps, and sit at the table again, the silk waiting, the needle a reminder of your servitude. Layla glances at you, her eyes questioning, and you shake your head, your voice a whisper. She was there, mocking me. You mutter, and Layla's face hardens, her hand brushing yours. "We'll find a way," she says, her words a quiet vow. But your anger burns. The market's freedom a taunt, the harem's chains a weight you'll never accept. The hall's dim light flickers as you sit at the table, the needle trembling in your hand, its tip stained with a faint smear of your blood from earlier stabs at the silk. The air is heavy, saturated with the mingled scents of damp stone, the lingering spices from the bazaar, and the faint musk of the women around you. They're breathing a tense undertone to the matron's distant commands. The blue robe chafes against your skin, a constant reminder of the role you've been forced into, and the green-robed woman's mocking words from the market echo in your mind, stoking the rage that burns like a furnace in your chest. Layla's whispered promise of a hidden passage lingers, a fragile thread of hope. And you steal another glance at the shadowed arch, its worn edges calling to you, a silent challenge to this oppressive life as a concubine. Your fingers ache, your spirit rebels, and you clench your jaw, vowing to seize any chance to break free from the Sultan's tyranny. The matron's voice cuts through the tension, sharp and unyielding. "To the courtyard, for air," she orders, her gray robe swishing as she gestures toward the door, her eyes scanning the room with a cold authority that makes your skin crawl. You rise, your legs stiff from hours of stitching, and join the line of women, their footsteps a reluctant shuffle on the marble floor. The courtyard opens before you, its vast expanse a mockery of freedom, the fountains trickling with a sound that grates on your nerves, their water glinting under the faint moonlight. The air is cooler here, carrying the scent of jasmine and damp earth. But it does little to ease the fury simmering within you, the injustice of your captivity a constant weight. You stand near the edge, the stone wall cool against your back, and breathe deeply, your chest tight with resentment. Layla moves beside you, her dark curls catching the moonlight, her presence a quiet comfort amidst the hostility. She leans close, her voice a whisper barely audible over the fountain's trickle. "The gardens beyond that wall," she murmurs, nodding toward a section where vines drape thickly over the stone, their leaves rustling in the breeze. It's hidden, unguarded at times. Your heart leaps, a surge of defiance mixing with your rage, and you glance at the matron, her figure a distant silhouette near the gate, her attention on a guard. This is your chance, you think bitterly, a chance to defy the Sultan, to escape the harem's chains, and you nod to Layla, your eyes blazing with determination. She steps back, her look a silent encouragement, and you feel a flicker of gratitude, a bond forged in this shared oppression. You edge toward the wall, your steps cautious, the robe whispering against your legs, the bundles of spices and thread you carried earlier, a memory of your forced labor. The vines are dense, their leaves brushing your face, cool and damp, and you slip behind them. The courtyard sounds fading into a muffled hum. The garden opens before you, a small, secret space, its paths lined with roses, their petals dark red in the moonlight, their scent a bitter contrast to the despair in your heart. The air grows still, the fountains murmur distant, and you pause. The stars above a mocking canopy, their light a cruel reminder of the freedom you've lost. Why does this beauty exist? You seethe, in a place that crushes souls, a garden hidden like a taunt to your captivity. Your heart pounds, a mix of hope and fury, and you move deeper, the gravel crunching softly underfoot, each step a rebellion against the Sultan's will. The roses brush your hands, their thorns pricking lightly, a sting that fuels your anger, and you think of Constantinople, its fall a wound that festers, driving your resolve. A rustle breaks the silence, sharp and sudden, and you freeze, your breath catching, the night alive with unseen threats. Footsteps approach, heavy and deliberate, and a guard's shadow looms, his armor glinting in the starlight, his silhouette a stark outline against the garden's dark embrace. "Who's there?" he calls, his voice gruff, a blade of authority, and you press against the wall, the stone cold and unyielding, your heart hammering with fear and rage. He steps closer, his boots crunching the gravel, the sound a relentless drumbeat, and you hold still, your body tense, your mind racing with curses for the palace, for the Sultan, for this trap. A moment stretches, endless, the guard's breath audible, and then a cat darts out, its eyes flashing green, a distraction that makes him mutter a curse and turn away. You exhale, relief washing over you, but the thrill of the risk lingers, your anger flaring anew at the near capture. Why did you dare, you think bitterly, when every step is a gamble, every hope a lie in this prison? You creep back, the stars your guide, the garden's beauty a hollow promise, and rejoin the line, the matron's gaze missing your absence, her attention elsewhere. Layla catches your eye, her expression a mix of worry and awe, and whispers, "You're brave," her voice a faint lifeline. You manage a tight nod, the garden's calm clinging to you like a taunt, your rage undimmed. The matron claps, her signal sharp, and you're led back inside, the hall's warmth a suffocating return to captivity. The women settle, their voices low, the green-robed woman watching with a narrowed gaze, your envy a silent threat. You sit, the silk waiting, the needle a reminder of your servitude, and think of the passage, the guard's shadow, the hope that slipped. The palace hums, its life a blend of labor and oppression, and you draw on your anger, a quiet strength, vowing to find another way, your heart a furnace of defiance in the dark. The hall's dim warmth wraps around you as you sit at the table, the needle in your hand trembling slightly, its tip catching the faint light of the lamps above. The cream silk beneath your fingers is marred with uneven stitches, a testament to your distracted fury. The garden's near escape still pulsing in your veins. The air is thick with the scent of oil and the faint tang of sweat from the women around you, their quiet breathing a tense undercurrent to the matron's occasional commands. Layla's whispered encouragement, "You're brave," echoes in your mind, a fragile spark amidst the rage that burns within you, stoked by the green-robed woman's lingering gaze. Her envy, a constant thorn in your side. The deep blue robe clings to your skin, a suffocating reminder of your forced role as a concubine, and you clench your jaw, your fingers tightening around the needle, the injustice of this life fueling a fire that refuses to die. A sudden clang of metal echoes through the hall, sharp and jarring, and the matron strides in, her gray robe sweeping the floor, her face set in a stern mask. "To the court," she announces, her voice cutting through the stillness, her eyes scanning the room with an unyielding authority that makes your stomach twist. The women rise, their movements slow, reluctant, and you stand with them, your legs aching from the day's labor, the silk slipping from your grasp to the table. The matron gestures toward the door, her nod a silent command, and you're herded down the corridor, the marble tiles cold beneath your bare feet. their blue and gold patterns a bitter contrast to the despair in your heart. Guards line the path, their armor glinting, their eyes cold and appraising, and you feel a surge of hatred, your fists clenching beneath the robe's sleeves, the weight of your captivity a constant lash. The corridor opens into a grand chamber, its vastness overwhelming, the ceiling soaring high, supported by arches carved with intricate vines, their elegance a mockery of your suffering. Lamps hang from chains, their flames casting a golden glow across the room, illuminating walls of crimson and gold tiles that shimmer with a wealth you'll never share. Cushions of deep green and red are scattered across the floor, a lavish stage for the Sultan's desires, and a long table stands to one side, laden with silver trays of dates, figs, and pistachios, their sweetness a cruel taunt to your empty stomach. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of amber and rose, a cloying perfume that chokes you, and you feel a wave of revulsion, your anger flaring at the opulence built on the backs of women like you, forced into this harem to serve a man you despise. You're handed a silver tray, its surface cold against your palms, and a pitcher of water, its contents shimmering faintly in the lamplight. "Serve," the matron orders, her voice sharp, her hand pushing you toward the cushions where men in fine robes recline, their voices low, their laughter a grating sound. You move forward, your step stiff, the tray heavy, the pitcher wobbling slightly, and you feel their eyes on you, a weight that ignites your fury. Why should you serve them? You think bitterly. When they've stolen your life, forced you into this role, a concubine to a tyrant who burned your city. You pour water into a cup, your hands trembling with rage, the liquid spilling slightly. A bead rolling down the side, and a man with a gray beard glances up, his eyes narrowing. "Careful, girl," he mutters, his tone dismissive, and you bite your tongue, the taste of blood mingling with your anger. The Sultan enters, his presence a dark cloud, his silken robes rustling, his dark beard framing a face carved with unyielding authority. Mehmed II's eyes sweep the room, cold and unfeeling, and you feel a chill, your chest tightening as he takes his place among the cushions, his gaze settling on the gathering with a detachment that fuels your hatred. You move closer, your tray a burden, your role a humiliation, and pour for him, the water glinting as it fills his cup, the pitcher's weight a reminder of your servitude. His eyes meet yours, a fleeting glance, their depths unreadable, and you feel a surge of loathing, your hands itching to throw the tray at him, to scream your defiance. But the guards' presence, their swords at the ready, holds you back. Whispers ripple through the court, low and tense, their words a web of intrigue you can't fully grasp. You catch fragments talk of campaigns, of rivals, of women in the harem, and your ears prick at the mention of betrayal, a man muttering, "She's too ambitious. She'll turn on him." You glance at the green-robed woman, standing near the table, her smirk gone, her eyes sharp, and wonder if she's the one they speak of, her envy a danger you can't ignore. You move back, your tray lighter now, the pitcher nearly empty, and feel a flush of resentment. The court's luxury a stark contrast to your pain, their indifference a lash against your spirit. Why do they feast, you think, when you're a prisoner, your life a plaything for their pleasure? A servant brushes past, Her tray of bread and cheese, a warm scent that twists your stomach. And she glances at you, her eyes kind but weary, a shared understanding in her gaze. You nod, a flicker of gratitude amidst your rage, and she whispers, "Stay sharp," her voice a quiet warning before she moves on. You watch her go, her scarf slipping slightly, revealing a scar on her neck, a mark of her own suffering, and feel a pang, a connection born of shared oppression. The court hums, the men's laughter growing louder, their voices a grating chorus, and you stand near the wall, your tray empty, your role fulfilled for now. But your anger burns hotter, a fire stoked by every word, every glance. The green-robed woman approaches, her steps deliberate, her eyes glinting with malice, and she pauses beside you, her voice low. "You serve well," she says, her tone dripping with sarcasm, and you feel a flush of hatred, your hands tightening on the tray. "I serve no one," you hiss, your voice trembling with fury, and she laughs, a sharp sound that draws glances, her gaze a challenge. "You'll learn," she says, her words a threat, and turns away, her robe swaying, leaving you with a bitter taste. Your rage, a storm that threatens to break. You think of Layla, her promise of escape, the garden's fleeting freedom, and vow to find a way, to defy this heartless court, your heart a furnace of rebellion in the dark. The grand chamber's golden glow fades into the background as you stand near the wall, the empty silver tray cold against your palms, its weight a lingering reminder of the servitude you've just endured. The air is thick with the scent of amber and rose, the cloying perfume mingling with the warmth of roasted meat and bread from the court's feast. A cruel taunt to your empty stomach. The men's laughter echoes, their voices a grating chorus that fuels your rage. The Sultan's indifferent gaze a fresh wound in your heart. The green-robed woman's parting words. You'll learn sting like a lash, her malice a constant thorn, and you feel your hands tremble, not with fear, but with a fury that threatens to boil over. Layla's promise of a hidden passage, the garden's fleeting freedom, clings to you, a fragile hope amidst the oppression of this harem, this life as a concubine forced upon you by Mehmed the Sen, a tyrant you despise with every breath. The matron's sharp clap cuts through the noise, her gray robe a stark contrast to the lavish surroundings, her face a mask of cold authority. "Back to the hall," she orders, her voice a whip crack, and you move with the other women, your steps heavy. The deep blue robe clinging to your skin, a suffocating shroud. The corridor stretches ahead, its marble tiles cold beneath your bare feet, their blue and gold patterns a bitter reminder of the wealth built on your suffering. Guards line the path, their armor glinting in the lamplight, their eyes following you with a cold curiosity that makes your skin crawl, and you clench your fists, your nails digging into your palms, the pain a grounding force against the storm of your anger. You return to the hall, the air cooler here, the scent of oil and silk replacing the court's heavy perfume, and you sit at the table, the cream silk waiting, its uneven stitches a testament to your distracted rage. The needle glints in your hand, a small but sharp reminder of your forced labor, and you begin to stitch again, the thread pulling tight with each jab, a rhythm that mirrors the fury in your chest. The green-robed woman takes her place across from you, her movements deliberate, her eyes fixed on you with a glint of malice, and you feel a flush of hatred, your jaw tightening. Why does she target you? You think bitterly when you're both trapped here, both concubines in this gilded prison, serving a man who cares nothing for your souls. Layla sits beside you, her dark curls falling over her face, her hands steady as she works her own peace. And she glances at you, her eyes warm but wary. "She's dangerous," she whispers, her voice barely audible over the matron's pacing, her nod toward the green-robed woman, a quiet warning. You nod, your anger flaring at the confirmation, and mutter, "I'll handle her." Your voice low, laced with venom. Layla's hand brushes yours, a fleeting touch of solidarity, and you feel a flicker of gratitude, a bond forged in this shared oppression. But your focus returns to the silk, the needle, a weapon you wish you could wield against your enemies. The matron pauses near your table, her gaze sharp, and you lower your eyes, stitching faster to avoid her scrutiny. But a sudden tug at your silk makes you pause. You glance down, and your breath catches. The thread has been cut. The border you've worked on for hours unraveling, the stitches fraying into a mess. You look up, your heart pounding, and see the green-robed woman smirk, her needle poised innocently, but her eyes glint with triumph. "Clumsy," she says, her voice dripping with mockery, and you feel a surge of rage, your hands trembling as you grip the silk, the ruined work a symbol of her malice. "You did this," you hiss, your voice low but fierce, and she laughs, a sharp sound that draws the matron's attention. "Enough," the matron snaps, her tone a lash, and she strides over, her eyes narrowing as she examines your silk. "Start again," she orders, her voice cold, and you feel a wave of humiliation, your anger boiling over. Why should you suffer for her sabotage? You think, your fists clenching beneath the table, when she's the one who seeks to break you. The matron moves on, her attention shifting, and you glare at the green-robed woman, your eyes blazing with defiance. "You'll regret that," you mutter, your voice a promise, and her smirk widens, a challenge you can't ignore. A servant enters, her tray laden with cups of water and small bowls of olives, her face weary, her scarf slipping to reveal the scar on her neck, a mark of her own suffering. She sets a cup before you, her eyes meeting yours briefly, a flicker of understanding in her gaze, and whispers. Beware of her, she's turned others against each other. Her words are a quiet warning, a confirmation of the danger you face, and you nod, your anger deepening into a cold resolve. You take the cup, the water cool against your lips, but it does little to quench the fire within you. The green-robed woman's sabotage, a wound that festers. You begin again, threading the needle with the new length of blue, your hands steady now, your rage a focused flame. The silk stretches before you, a blank slate, but each stitch feels like a battle, a defiance against the harem's cruelty, against the Sultan's will. The women around you work in silence, their tension palpable, and you feel their eyes on you, their curiosity a weight you resent. Why do they watch? You think bitterly, when they, too, are prisoners, their lives shaped by the same tyrant. Layla leans close, her voice a breath. "We'll find a way to stop her," she murmurs, her words a vow, and you nod, your resolve hardening, the passage a distant hope you cling to. The lamps burn low, their light dimming, and the hall grows cooler, the air heavy with the weight of the day. You stitch on, the border taking shape again, but your mind races with plans, with curses for the green-robed woman, for the Sultan, for this life you never chose. The servant returns, collecting the cups, her eyes lingering on you, and you feel a pang, a connection born of shared pain. The palace hums, its life a blend of labor and oppression, and you draw on your anger, a quiet strength, vowing to fight back, to find the passage, to defy this harem's cruel blade. Your heart a furnace of rebellion in the dark. The hall's dim light casts long shadows across the table as you sit, the needle moving with a steady rhythm through the cream silk, its new blue border a fragile victory over the green-robed woman's sabotage. The air is cool now, tinged with the lingering scent of oil from the low lamps and the faint musk of the women around you. Their silent labor, a tense backdrop to the fury that still simmers in your chest. The deep blue robe feels like a second skin, a constant reminder of your forced role as a concubine. And the matron's cold command echoes in your mind, stoking your resentment toward Mehmed II, the Sultan who stole your freedom and now seeks to break your spirit. Layla's whispered vow, we'll find a way to stop her lingers, a thread of hope amidst the bitterness. And you glance at the shadowed arch again, its promise of escape a beacon in this oppressive harem. Your hands tightening around the needle as your rage fuels a quiet resolve. The matron's footsteps fade as she moves to the far end of the hall, her gray robe a distant silhouette, her attention diverted by a servant's report, and the room breathes a momentary relief. Layla shifts closer, her dark curls brushing the table, her eyes darting to ensure privacy before she leans in, her voice a hushed whisper. She's not just jealous, she murmurs, her tone laced with urgency. She's been whispering to the guards, turning them against us, those who resist. Your heart skips, a chill mixing with your anger, and you turn to her, your voice low. Why, you ask, your fingers pausing, the silk crumpling slightly under your grip. Layla's gaze darkens, her hands stilling on her own work. Power, she says simply. She wants favor with the Sultan, and she'll crush anyone in her way. You feel a surge of hatred, your chest tightening as you imagine the green-robed woman's smirk, her sabotage a calculated move in this cruel game. Why should she wield power over you? You think bitterly, when you're both prisoners, both forced into this harem to serve a tyrant. The injustice burns, a fire that threatens to consume you, and you mutter a curse under your breath. The sound lost in the soft rustle of silk. Layla's hand brushes yours again, a fleeting touch of solidarity. And she continues, her voice barely audible. I've seen her slip notes, heard her bargain with the guard near the arch. We need to watch her, but we also need to move soon. Your pulse quickens, the arch's promise growing stronger, and you nod, your resolve hardening, the passage a lifeline you'll cling to. The hall grows quieter, the women stitching a muted rhythm, and you notice the green-robed woman across the table, her movements deliberate, her eyes flicking toward you with a glint of malice. She sets her needle down, rising with a grace that mocks your struggle, and moves toward the matron, her voice low as she speaks, her gestures animated. You watch, your anger flaring, and catch a fragment of her words troublemaker, her finger pointing subtly in your direction. The matron's gaze shifts to you, her expression unreadable, and you lower your eyes, stitching faster to deflect suspicion. But your mind races with curses for this rival, this snake in your midst. Why does she target you? You seethe, when her own chains are as tight as yours. A sudden scream pierces the silence, sharp and distant, echoing through the palace's corridors. And the women freeze, their hands stilling, their eyes wide with fear. The matron straightens, her voice sharp as she calls for order, but the sound lingers, a haunting wail that sends a shiver down your spine. Layla grips your arm, her fingers tight, and whispers. That was from the lower chambers someone resisted, I think. Your stomach twists, your anger mixing with a cold dread. And you think of the servant's scar, the man's tale of his wife's fate, the lives broken by this harem. Why does this place demand such cruelty? You think bitterly, your fists clenching beneath the table, the scream a stark reminder of your own vulnerability. The matron dismisses the incident with a wave, her authority unshaken, and the women return to their work, their tension palpable. But you and Layla exchange a glance, a silent agreement to act. She leans closer, her voice a breath. Tonight, after lights dim, meet me by the arch. We'll see what she's planning. Your heart pounds, a mix of hope and fury. And you nod, your mind racing with plans, with the need to strike back at the green-robed woman, at the Sultan, at this life you never chose. The hall hums with renewed activity. The matron's pacing a constant pressure, and you stitch on, the border growing, each thread a quiet rebellion. The green-robed woman returns to her seat, her smirk gone, her eyes narrowed as she watches you, and you meet her gaze, your eyes blazing with defiance. She leans forward, her voice a hiss. You think you're special? You'll break like the rest. Your blood boils, your hands itching to throw the needle at her, to wipe that smugness from her face. But Layla's touch steadies you, a reminder of your plan. We'll see who breaks, you mutter, your voice low but fierce. And she laughs, a sound that grates, before turning back to her work, her rivalry a blade you'll sharpen against her. The lamps burn lower, their light fading, and the hall grows cooler, the air heavy with the weight of the day. A servant passes, her tray empty, her eyes meeting yours briefly, a flicker of understanding in her gaze, and you feel a pang, a connection born of shared pain. She whispers, "Stay strong," her voice a quiet lifeline, and you nod, your anger a fuel, your bond with Layla a shield. The palace breathes, its walls a constant pressure, and you think of the scream, the arch, the passage to freedom, vowing to fight, to defy this harem's bitterness. Your heart a furnace of rebellion as the night deepens. The hall's fading lamplight casts a muted glow over the table as you set your needle down, the cream silk now bordered with a jagged line of blue. Each stitch a quiet act of defiance against the life you've been forced into. The air is cooler now, the scent of oil and silk lingering, a heavy reminder of the day's labor, and the deep blue robe clings to your skin, a suffocating symbol of your role as a concubine in this harem you loathe. The green-robed woman's hissed threat, "You'll break like the rest," still burns in your mind, her malice a constant fuel for your rage. And the distant scream from the lower chambers echoes, a chilling reminder of the palace's cruelty. Layla's plan, whispered with urgency tonight, after lights dim. Meet me by the arch pulses in your chest, a desperate hope to escape the Sultan's tyranny. And you glance at the shadowed arch again, its worn stone a silent promise of freedom amidst the oppression of Topkapi. The matron claps, her voice sharp, signaling the end of the day's work. "To your quarters," she orders, her gray robe sweeping the floor as she gestures toward the corridor, her eyes scanning the room with a cold authority that makes your stomach twist. The women rise, their movements weary, their faces etched with the same bitterness you feel, and you follow, your legs heavy, the silk left behind like a chain you can't fully shed. Layla catches your eye as you move, her nod a silent confirmation of the plan, and you feel a surge of determination, your rage mixing with a fragile hope, the passage a lifeline you'll risk everything to reach. The green-robed woman lingers, her gaze following you, her smirk a taunt you ignore, your focus on the night ahead, on the chance to defy this prison. The corridor stretches long and cold, the marble tiles smooth beneath your bare feet, their blue and gold patterns a cruel contrast to the despair in your heart. Guards stand at intervals, their armor glinting in the dim lamplight, their eyes cold and watchful, and you keep your head down, your anger a quiet storm, your steps measured to avoid suspicion. The women disperse to their quarters, small rooms carved into the stone, and you enter yours. The door creaking shut behind you, the air damp and stale. A thin mat lies on the floor, a jug of water beside it, its surface rippling faintly, and you sit, your back against the wall. The robe a weight you long to tear off. The palace grows quieter, the hum of activity fading, the fountain's distant trickle a mocking lullaby, and you wait, your heart pounding, your mind racing with plans and curses for the Sultan, for this life you never chose. The lamps in the corridor dim, their light reduced to a faint glow, and you hear the soft shuffle of the last guard's patrol, their voices low, their steps fading into the distance. It's time, you think, your pulse quickening, and you rise, your movement silent, the robe whispering against your legs as you slip to the door. You peer out, the corridor empty, the shadows deep, and step into the darkness, your bare feet cold against the marble, your breath shallow with anticipation. The arch waits at the hall's far end, its outline barely visible, and you move toward it, your heart a drumbeat, each step a rebellion against Mehmed VI's will, against the harem's chains, against the green-robed woman's malice. You reach the arch, its stone cool beneath your fingers, and Layla emerges from the shadows, her dark curls tucked back, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and resolve. "This way," she whispers, her voice barely audible, and she pulls aside a tattered cloth, revealing a narrow passage, its walls rough, its air damp and musty. You follow her, the passage closing in, the stone scraping your shoulders, the darkness pressing against you, and you feel a surge of hope, a chance to escape this gilded prison, to reclaim your freedom. The passage twists, its floor uneven, and you stumble slightly, your hands brushing the walls, their texture gritty, a stark contrast to the palace's polished marble. Layla leads, her steps cautious, and you whisper, how far your voice a breath, your anger giving way to a desperate need to know. "Not far," she replies, her tone tense, "but we must be quick." You nod, though she can't see, and move faster, the passage sloping downward, the air growing colder, the scent of earth stronger. You think of Constantinople, its fall a wound that drives you, and imagine the open sky, the Bosphorus's breeze, a life beyond these walls, and your resolve hardens, your rage a fuel that pushes you forward. The passage widens slightly, a faint light ahead, and Layla pauses, her hand raised, her body tense. "Wait," she murmurs, and you freeze, your breath catching, the light flickering, a shadow moving across it. Footsteps echo, heavy and deliberate, and a guard's voice cuts through the silence, gruff and commanding. "Who's there?" he calls, his boots scraping the stone, and your heart lurches, fear and fury colliding in your chest. Layla presses against the wall, her eyes wide, and you do the same, the stone cold and unyielding, your body trembling with the urge to run, to fight. The guard steps closer, his torch casting jagged light into the passage, its flames dancing on the walls. And you see his silhouette, tall and armored, his sword glinting at his side. "I heard something," he mutters, his voice closer now, and you hold your breath, your mind racing with curses for the palace, for the green-robed woman, for every moment that led to this. The guard pauses, his torchlight sweeping the passage, and you press harder against the wall, the stone biting into your back, your heart a frantic beat. Layla's hand finds yours, her grip tight, a silent plea to stay still, and you cling to her, your anger a quiet storm, your hope slipping with each second. The guard mutters a curse, his steps retreating slightly, and you exhale, relief washing over you. But it's short-lived. Another voice joins his, low and urgent, and you catch a fragment. "She said to watch this path, and your blood runs cold. The green-robed woman's betrayal, a bitter truth. She's turned the guards against you, her whispers a trap, and you feel a surge of hatred, your fists clenching, your nails drawing blood." The guards move closer, their voices overlapping, and Layla pulls you back, her voice a desperate whisper. "We can't, we have to go back." You shake your head, your rage blinding you, and hiss, "No, we're so close." But she tugs harder, her grip unyielding, and you relent, the guard's footsteps too near, their torchlight too bright. You retreat, the passage narrowing again, your shoulders scraping the stone, your breath ragged with frustration and fury. The light fades behind you, the guard's voice is growing distant, and you reach the arch, slipping back into the hall, the shadows a cold embrace. Layla pulls the cloth back, her hands shaking, and you slump against the wall, your chest heaving, your anger a storm that threatens to break. "She betrayed us," you mutter, your voice trembling with rage, and Layla nods, her eyes dark with the same bitterness. "We'll try again," she whispers, her voice a vow. But the words feel hollow, the passage a shattered dream. The palace hums, its life a blend of oppression and despair, and you think of the green-robed woman, her smirk, her power, vowing to fight back, to find another way, your heart a furnace of rebellion as the night deepens around you. The hall's shadows cling to you as you slump against the wall near the arch, your chest still heaving from the failed escape, the bitter taste of defeat mixing with the rage that burns in your heart. The air is damp, heavy with the scent of stone and the faint musk of the palace, a constant reminder of your captivity in Topkapi, this gilded prison where you're forced to serve as a concubine to Mehmed Su, a tyrant you despise. Layla stands beside you, her dark curls loose, her eyes wide with a shared frustration. Her whispered vow, "We'll try again," a fragile promise that does little to ease the fury coursing through you. The green-robed woman's betrayal, her whispered words to the guards, stings like a fresh wound. And you clench your fists, your nails digging into your palms, the pain a grounding force against the storm of your anger. The palace hums with a distant life, its fountains a mocking murmur, and you feel the weight of your chains, both visible and unseen, pressing down harder than ever. A sharp clap echoes through the corridor, the matron's voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "To the inner court," she calls, her gray robe a stark silhouette in the dim lamplight, her tone unyielding, a command that brooks no refusal. You rise, your legs trembling from the tension of the night, the deep blue robe clinging to your skin, a suffocating symbol of your role, and follow the other women, their footsteps a weary shuffle on the marble floor. Layla glances at you, her expression a mix of worry and resolve, and you nod, your anger a quiet storm, your mind still racing with plans to defy the green-robed woman, to find another way out of this harem. The corridor stretches long and cold, its tiles of blue and gold a cruel contrast to the despair in your heart. And you pass guards, their armor glinting, their eyes cold, a constant reminder of the danger that surrounds you. The inner court opens before you, a smaller, more intimate space than the grand chamber, its walls draped with silks of crimson and gold, their patterns catching the soft glow of lamps hanging from the ceiling. The air is warmer here, heavy with the scent of milk and cloth, a stark contrast to the hall's damp chill. And you see a cradle in the corner, its wood carved with simple vines, a small form nestled within. The matron gestures toward it, her voice low but firm. "Tend the child," she orders, her eyes fixed on you, her choice a burden you resent. You step forward, your heart sinking, the weight of this new task a fresh lash against your spirit, and kneel beside the cradle, the floor cool beneath your knees, the robe pooling around you like a shroud. The child is small, his skin pale, his breath shallow, a faint wheeze escaping his lips with each rise of his tiny chest. His eyes are closed, his lashes dark against his cheeks, and you feel a pang, a mix of pity and rage, the sight of his frailty a mirror to your own vulnerability in this place. A woman in gray stands nearby, her face tired, her hands clasped tight, and she murmurs, "He's been weak since birth, care for him. Keep him calm." Her voice is soft, but it carries a weight of expectation. And you nod, your anger flaring at the injustice of it all. Why should you bear this burden? You think bitterly when you're a prisoner, forced into this role, your life stolen by the Sultan's greed. The child's suffering echoes your own, a silent cry that resonates with the pain in your heart, and you reach for him, your hands gentle despite the storm within. You lift him, his weight light, his warmth a fragile thing against your chest, and cradle him, your movements careful, your breath steady despite the fury that threatens to break free. His wheeze grows quieter, his tiny fingers twitching against your robe, and you hum softly, a tune from your childhood in Constantinople, its notes a distant memory of freedom now tainted by loss. The woman in gray watches, her eyes kind but weary, and you feel a flicker of connection, a shared understanding of suffering, but it does little to ease your resentment. The matron moves through the room, her gaze sharp, her presence a constant pressure, and you notice the green-robed woman lingering near the door, her eyes fixed on you, her smirk a blade that cuts deep. Why does she watch? You seethe, her envy a poison that taints even this moment of care. You rock the child, the motion a rhythm that soothes him, his breath easing slightly, and you wipe his brow with a damp cloth from a nearby basin, the water cool against his feverish skin. The scent of rosewater rises, a faint comfort that clashes with your anger, and you think of the peddler's bread, the stranger's tale, the servant's scar, all the small acts of kindness now overshadowed by the cruelty of this palace. Layla tends another task nearby, folding linens, her hands quick, her eyes darting to you with a quiet support that steadies you. "You're good with him," she whispers, her voice low, and you shake your head, your voice a bitter mutter. "I shouldn't have to be," you say, your anger flaring. The child suffering a burden you resent, a role forced upon you like everything else here. The green-robed woman approaches, her steps deliberate, her robe whispering against the floor, and she pauses beside you, her gaze cold. "How touching," she says, her voice dripping with sarcasm, the new favorite playing mother. Your blood boils, your hands tightening around the child, and you glare at her, your voice a hiss. "Leave me be," you snap, your fury barely contained. And she laughs, a sharp sound that draws the matron's attention. "Mind your tone," the matron warns, her voice a lash. And the green-robed woman steps back, her smirk lingering, her malice a constant threat. You turn away, your focus on the child, his breath a quiet rhythm, but your mind races with curses for her, for the Sultan, for this life you never chose. The court hums with soft activity, servants moving through, their trays heavy with bread and figs, their faces weary, and you take a piece, the sweetness a hollow comfort, the child still in your arms. The woman in gray nods, her gratitude a small light, but it does little to ease your anger. The weight of this role, a constant pressure. The palace breathes, its life a blend of labor and oppression. And you think of the arch, the failed escape, the green-robed woman's betrayal, vowing to fight back, to protect this child, to defy this harem's cruelty. Your heart a furnace of rebellion as the night deepens around you. The inner court's soft glow bathes the cradle as you sit beside it, the child's frail form nestled in your arms, his shallow breaths a fragile rhythm against the storm of rage that churns within you. The air is warm, heavy with the scent of rosewater and the faint tang of milk-soaked cloth, a cloying comfort that clashes with the bitterness in your heart. The deep blue robe clings to your skin, a suffocating reminder of your forced role as a concubine in this harem, a life stolen by Mehmed II, the Sultan whose conquest of your city, Constantinople, still burns in your memory like an open wound. The green-robed woman's mocking words, the new favorite playing mother echo in your mind, her malice a constant lash, and you feel your hands tremble, your anger a fire that threatens to consume you. Layla's quiet support, her steady presence nearby, is a small anchor, but the failed escape through the arch weighs heavy, a shattered hope that deepens your despair. The child stirs, his wheeze sharper now, a faint cry escaping his lips, and you rock him gently, your movements automatic, your hum a low, broken tune from a life long gone. His feverish skin burns against your fingers, his tiny frame trembling, and you wipe his brow again with the damp cloth. Its rosewater scent a hollow comfort that does little to ease your resentment. Why should you bear this burden, you think bitterly, when you're a prisoner, forced into this role, your own freedom stripped away by the Sultan's greed? The woman in gray watches, her face etched with worry, her hands clasped tight, and she murmurs, "He's worse today." Her voice a quiet plea that twists your stomach. You nod. your anger flaring at the injustice, the child suffering a mirror to your own, a silent cry that resonates with the pain you've carried since the fall of your city. The matron moves through the court, her gray robe a stark contrast to the silken drapes, her gaze sharp as she oversees the women's tasks, her presence a constant pressure that grates on your nerves. You notice the green-robed woman lingering near a servant, her voice low, her gestures quick, and your heart sinks, a cold dread mixing with your fury. She's plotting again. You think, her betrayal at the arch a fresh wound, her whispers a danger you can't ignore. You catch a fragment of her words. She's too soft, too attached, her eyes flicking toward you, her smirk a blade that cuts deep, and you feel a surge of hatred, your hands tightening around the child, your nails digging into your palms. Why does she target you? You seethe, when her own chains are as tight as yours, her life as broken by this harem's cruelty. A servant approaches, her tray heavy with cups of water, her face weary, her scarf slipping to reveal the scar on her neck, a mark of her own suffering. She sets a cup beside you, her eyes meeting yours briefly, a flicker of understanding in her gaze, and whispers. She's spreading lies saying you'll fail with the child, that you're unfit. Her words are a quiet warning, a confirmation of the green-robed woman's scheme, and you feel a wave of fury, your chest tightening as you imagine her words reaching the matron, the Sultan, turning them against you. I won't let her win, you mutter, your voice trembling with rage, and the servant nods, her hand brushing yours, a fleeting touch of solidarity that steadies you amidst the storm. The child cries again, a weak, pitiful sound that pierces your heart, and you rock him harder, your hum faltering, your anger giving way to a desperate need to soothe him. His breath grows fainter, his tiny fingers limp against your robe, and you feel a pang of fear, a dread that this fragile life might slip away under your care. The woman in gray kneels beside you, her hands trembling as she adjusts his blanket, her voice a whisper. He's fading, she says, her eyes glistening, and you feel a wave of helplessness, your rage mixing with sorrow, the weight of this role a burden you never asked for. Why does this palace demand such pain? You think bitterly, your eyes burning with unshed tears, when every moment here is a theft of your soul. A distant wail cuts through the court, sharp and mournful, echoing through the corridors, and the women pause, their faces pale, their eyes wide with fear. The matron stiffens, her voice sharp as she calls for order, but the sound lingers, a haunting cry that sends a shiver down your spine. Layla glances at you, her hands still on the linens she's folding, her expression a mix of worry and resolve, and whispers, "Another loss, someone didn't survive the night." Your stomach twists, your anger flaring anew, the palace's cruelty a constant lash, the wail a stark reminder of the lives broken by this harem, by the Sultan's unyielding rule. You think of the scream from the lower chambers, the man's tale of his wife, the child's fading breath, and feel a wave of despair, your hope drowning in the darkness of this place. You lay the child back in the cradle, his breath a faint whisper, his tiny chest barely rising, and wipe your hands on the robe, the fabric stained with sweat and rosewater, a testament to your struggle. The woman in gray sits beside him, her hands clasped in a silent prayer, her grief a weight you share, though your anger burns hotter, a fire stoked by every loss, every betrayal. The green-robed woman watches from across the room, her smirk gone, her eyes calculating, and you meet her gaze, your eyes blazing with defiance, your hatred for her, a fuel that keeps you going. Layla moves closer, her voice a breath. "We can't let her win," she murmurs, her words a vow, and you nod, your resolve hardening. Though the child's fading life, the wail's echo weighs heavy on your heart. The court hums with soft activity, servants moving through, their trays heavy with bread and olives, their faces weary, and you take a piece, the bitterness of your anger tainting its taste. The palace breathes, its life a blend of sorrow and oppression. And you think of the arch, the failed escape, the green-robed woman's lies, vowing to fight back, to protect what little you can, to defy this harem's darkness. Your heart a furnace of rebellion as the night deepens around you. The inner court's soft light dims as you sit beside the cradle, the child's faint breaths growing weaker, a fragile thread that threatens to snap under the weight of your despair and rage. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of rosewater and the stale musk of the palace, a cloying reminder of your captivity in this harem, where you've been forced into the role of a concubine by Mehmed II, a tyrant whose conquest of Constantinople still sears your soul. The deep blue robe clings to your skin, a suffocating shroud, and the green-robed woman's calculating gaze from across the room burns in your memory. Her lies a fresh wound that fuels the fury simmering within you. Layla's whispered vow, "We can't let her win," lingers. A quiet anchor amidst the darkness, and the distant wail from earlier echoes, a haunting reminder of the lives lost to this palace's cruelty. The arch, the failed escape, the child's fading life all weigh on you, your hope drowned, but a flicker of strength begins to stir beneath the bitterness. The matron's footsteps approach, her gray robe sweeping the floor, her face a mask of cold authority as she surveys the court. "Tend the sick," she orders, her voice sharp, gesturing toward a corner where a small group of women lie on mats, their faces pale, their breathing labored. You rise, your legs aching from the long vigil, the robe whispering against your skin, and move toward them, your anger a quiet storm, your resentment at this imposed role a constant lash. The woman in gray, still by the cradle, watches the child with a weary gaze, her hands trembling, and you feel a pang, a shared sorrow that softens your fury just enough to act. You kneel beside the first woman, her skin hot with fever, her eyes half open, and dip a cloth into the basin, the rosewater cool against your fingers as you wipe her brow. The sick women number 4, their mats spread in a semicircle, their breaths a ragged chorus that fills the silence. One coughs, a dry, hacking sound that echoes in the small space, and you offer her water from a cup, your hand steady despite the rage that churns within. Why should you care for them? You think bitterly. When you're a prisoner, forced into this harem, your freedom stolen by the Sultan's greed, the thought stings, but the woman's grateful nod, her weak smile, stirs something a duty, a connection born of shared suffering that tempers your anger. You move to the next, a younger girl, her face flushed, her hands clutching the mat, and you hum softly, the tune from your childhood a faint comfort, its notes a rebellion against the palace's oppression. Layla joins you, her hands quick as she adjusts a blanket, her dark curls falling over her face, and she whispers, "This is our fight. to keeping them alive. Her words are a quiet strength, a reminder of your bond, and you nod, your resolve hardening. Though the child's fading breath, the green-robed woman's betrayal weighs heavy. The court grows quieter, the matron's presence fading as she moves to oversee another task, her authority a distant pressure, and you feel a moment of reprieve, a space to breathe amidst the storm. The sick women's breathing eases slightly, their faces relaxing under your care, and you feel a flicker of pride, a strength drawn from their gratitude. Though your anger at the Sultan, at this life, remains. A faint echo drifts through the court, a song from somewhere deep in the palace, its melody soft and mournful, a voice carrying a tune you vaguely recall from the streets of Constantinople. The sound weaves through the silence, a thread of memory that soothes the sick women, their eyes fluttering, their breaths slowing, and you pause, the cloth in your hand, your heart lifting despite the rage. Why does this beauty exist, you think, in a place that crushes souls, a song that speaks of home amidst this prison? The melody lingers, a faint comfort that clashes with your bitterness, and you hum along, your voice low, a quiet rebellion against the harem's cruelty, a connection to the life you've lost. The green-robed woman watches from the shadows, her smirk gone, her eyes narrowed with a calculating intensity that sends a chill down your spine. She moves closer, her steps deliberate, and pauses near the cradle, her gaze fixed on the child, now still, his breath a mere whisper. "He won't last," she says, her voice low, laced with a venom that makes your blood boil. And when he's gone, your usefulness will fade, your hands tremble, your anger flaring, and you rise, stepping toward her, your voice a hiss. "Leave him be," you snap, your fury barely contained, and she laughs, a sharp sound that draws glances, her malice a blade you long to turn against her. The matron's voice cuts through. Enough. And the green-robed woman retreats, her smirk lingering, her threat a shadow over your strength. You return to the sick, your hands steady now, your anger a fuel that drives your care, and the song fades, its echo a lingering comfort. The women's breathing grows steadier, their faces softening, and you feel a quiet pride, a strength drawn from this act of defiance, this refusal to let the palace break you. Layla nods, her eyes warm, and whispers, "You're stronger than she thinks," her words a vow, and you nod, your resolve hardening. Though the child's fading life, the green-robed woman's lies, remains a weight. The palace hums, its life a blend of sorrow and resilience. And you think of the arch, the failed escape, vowing to fight back, to find another way. Your heart a furnace of rebellion as the night deepens around you. The inner court's dim glow softens as the night deepens, the flickering lamps casting gentle shadows across the silken drapes, their crimson and gold patterns a muted backdrop to the quiet resilience you've found amidst your rage. The air carries the faint scent of rose water and the earthy musk of the palace, a blend that once choked you but now feels familiar, a strange comfort in this oppressive harem where you've been forced into the role of a concubine by Mehmed's II, a tyrant whose conquest of Constantinople still fuels your bitterness. The deep blue robe rests lighter on your shoulders now, its weight a reminder of your captivity, but also of the strength you've carved from it, caring for the sick, enduring the green-robed woman's malice, and holding on to the bond with Layla. The child's faint breaths from the cradle, the song's lingering echo, and Layla's quiet support. You're stronger than she thinks weave together, a fragile peace settling over the fury that has burned within you for so long. You rise from the mats where the sick women rest. They're breathing steadier now, their faces softened by your care, and feel a quiet pride, a strength drawn from defying the palace's cruelty through these small acts. The matron's presence has faded, her gray robe a distant memory as she oversees another part of the court, and the space feels lighter, the tension easing as the night stretches on. Layla folds the last of the linens, her dark curls catching the lamplight, and she glances at you, her eyes warm with a shared resolve, a bond forged in the bitterness of this life. Rest now, she whispers, her voice a gentle nudge, and you nod, your legs heavy, your body aching from the day's burdens, but your heart lighter, a flicker of hope amidst the darkness. A servant leads you to a small alcove near a window, its wooden frame carved with simple vines, a rare view of the world beyond Topkapi's walls. You sit on a cushioned bench, the fabric worn but soft, and lean against the cool stone, the window's lattice casting intricate shadows across your lap. The night outside is deep, the sky a velvet expanse pierced by faint stars, their light a distant promise of freedom that stirs your dreams of rebellion. Though the weight of the failed escape through the arch lingers, a scar on your hope. The Bosphorus glimmers faintly in the distance, its waters a dark ribbon under the moon. And you think of Constantinople, its fall a wound that will never heal. But the memory now carries a quiet defiance, a vow to endure, to fight in the ways you can. The palace murmurs around you, its sounds soften the trickle of a fountain, the rustle of a guard's cloak, the faint hum of a servant's song from a distant hall. The noises blend into a lullaby, a strange serenity that wraps around you, and you close your eyes, the cool air brushing your face through the lattice, a whisper of the world you long to reclaim. The green-robed woman's malice, her lies about the child, her betrayal at the arch, fade into the background, her power diminished by the strength you found in caring for others, in resisting her cruelty with quiet acts of defiance. Why did you let her anger you so? You wonder, when your true enemy is the Sultan, this system that binds you both, a realization that tempers your rage into a focused resolve. You think of the child, his fading breath a weight you'll carry, but also a reminder of your capacity to care, to fight for something beyond yourself. The sick women's gratitude, their softened faces, echo in your mind, a small victory against the harem's darkness, and you feel a fragile peace settle, a moment of calm amidst the storm. Layla's words, her bond, her shared dream of escape, linger as a promise, a reason to keep fighting, and you imagine a day when you might slip through the arch, when you might breathe free air again. The Bosphorus's breeze a reality rather than a dream. The stars wink through the lattice, their light a whisper of hope, and you draw a deep breath, the air cool and clean, your heart steadying, your rebellion a quiet flame that will not die. The night deepens, the palace's murmurs fading into a gentle hush, and you rest, your body sinking into the bench, your mind drifting toward a dream of open skies, of a life reclaimed, a defiant peace settling over you as you slip into sleep, ready to face the battles ahead. As the stars hold their vigil over Topkapi, Let your breath slow, each exhale releasing the day's weight, your body softening into rest. Picture the Bosphorus's gentle waves, their rhythm a lullaby, guiding you into a deep, peaceful sleep, where dreams of freedom whisper softly, a promise for tomorrow.